An 11-year-old boy walked into Judge Frank Caprio's courtroom like it was a school hallway during recess, not a court of law. He slouched in his seat, swung his legs, and let out a loud sigh that echoed just enough to draw attention. "Can we go?" he muttered. "This is boring." His mother reached over and gently touched his shoulder, a quiet warning meant to stop the words before they went any further. She didn't look at him. She didn't have to. She already looked exhausted. Judge Caprio lifted his eyes from the docket. "Young man," he said calmly, "I'm speaking to your mother." The boy shrugged. Without a word, he pulled his phone from his pocket and began scrolling, thumbs moving fast, eyes glued to the screen as if the judge didn't exist. At 20:30 p.m. on a Wednesday afternoon, Court Clerk Miss Bell called the next case. Case number 2025 PK 1184, City of Providence versus Lisa Johnson. Lisa Johnson stepped forward. She was 32, wearing work scrubs partially hidden beneath a worn jacket. Her eyes were tired in a way that suggested long nights and early mornings. In her hands was a folder stuffed with receipts, notices, and folded papers she'd probably reviewed a dozen times already. Her son followed behind her. Jaden, 11 years old, new sneakers, a designer hoodie that didn't quite fit the setting, phone still in hand. Miss Bell read the charges clearly and without judgment. 3 unpaid parking citations. Westminster Street, October. Downtown Providence, October 9th. Hope Street, October 17th. Total fines $450. Vehicle registration expired 90 days. Additional penalty $120. Judge Caprio looked at Lisa. "Miss Johnson, how do you plead?" "Guilty, Your Honor," she said softly. "I know the registration is late. I've been trying to." Jaden cut in without lifting his eyes from his phone. "Dad would have just paid it." The courtroom went still. Judge Caprio's gaze shifted, slow and deliberate, until it landed on the boy. "Excuse me." Jaden shrugged again. "I said my dad would have paid it already. He doesn't let stuff like this pile up." The disrespect entered the record before the fines ever did. Judge Caprio set his pen down. "Young man," he said, "what's your name?" "Jaden." "Jaden," the judge replied evenly, "I'm speaking to your mother. You'll have a chance to speak when I ask you to." "Whatever." Lisa's voice cracked just slightly. "Jaden, please." Judge Caprio turned back to her. "Miss Johnson, tell me what happened." She took a breath, steadying herself. "Your Honor, I work as a CNA at Providence General. I pull double shifts most weeks. My car failed inspection back in July. The repair estimate was $800. I had to choose between fixing it and keeping the registration current." Judge Caprio nodded. "You chose to keep working." "Yes, sir. I need the car to get to the hospital. The bus doesn't run early enough for my shift." "And the parking tickets?" "I parked on the street near the hospital," she said. "I didn't realize those spots were metered after 6. I thought night parking was free." From beside her, Jaden muttered, "Because she never reads signs." The gallery stirred. Judge Caprio's voice lowered, but it sharpened. He said, "You will not speak to your mother that way in this courtroom. Do you understand?" Jaden glanced up for a moment. "I'm just saying what's true." "You're being disrespectful," the judge replied. "And that stops now." Jaden went back to his phone. Judge Caprio made a note. Then he looked back at Lisa. "Miss Johnson, is Jaden's father involved?" Her jaw tightened. "Not financially, Your Honor. He's 6 months behind on child support. $4,800. "Does he have visitation?" "Every other weekend," she said. "When he shows up." Judge Caprio leaned forward slightly. "And when he does show up," he asked, "what does he tell Jaden about you?" Lisa hesitated. "Your Honor, I don't want to." Jaden spoke before she could finish. "He says Mom only comes to court because she likes drama," he said. "He says she could afford stuff if she managed money better." The room went quiet again. Judge Caprio looked at the boy, then at the mother, and then back at the case file. Someone at home, he realized, was parenting with cash instead of character. And today, the court was about to teach a different lesson. Judge Caprio studied Jaden for a long moment, his expression unreadable. "And you believe him?" the judge asked. Jaden didn't hesitate. "He's not wrong." The words came easily. Too easily. "Mom's always broke," Jaden continued, shrugging as if stating a simple fact. "Dad buys me stuff. New shoes. This phone, my PlayStation. He takes care of me." Judge Caprio tilted his head slightly. "Does he pay your mother child support?" Jaden frowned. "He says he doesn't have to. He says Mom can't make him." Judge Caprio wrote something down. His pen moved slowly, deliberately. His face remained calm, but the courtroom could feel the shift. This was no longer about parking tickets. This was about lessons being taught in the wrong place by the wrong person. Then Jaden's phone buzzed. The ringtone echoed loudly through the courtroom, sharp and out of place. Jaden glanced at the screen and brightened. "That's Dad. I got to take this." Judge Caprio's voice cut through the moment, sudden and firm. "You will not answer that phone." Jaden didn't look up. He swiped the screen. "Yeah, Dad," he said into the phone. "We're in court. Mom's acting like she can't afford tickets again." Lisa Johnson reached for the phone, panic flashing across her face. "Jaden, hang up." Judge Caprio stood straighter. "Eat that call immediately and hand the phone to Officer Rodriguez." Jaden pulled the phone away from his mother. "You can't take my phone. My dad's gonna sue you." He said judges can't take private property. The words weren't his, they were borrowed. "Officer Rodriguez," Judge Caprio said evenly, "collect the device." Bailiff Rodriguez stepped forward. He moved calmly without urgency or force. Jaden clutched the phone behind his back. "Dad said I don't have to listen to you." Lisa's voice dropped to a whisper. "Jaden, please don't do this." Rodriguez didn't grab for the phone. He simply stood there waiting. Judge Caprio's voice lowered. "Jaden," he said, "you have two choices. You may hand the phone to Officer Rodriguez, or you may be removed from this courtroom and your mother will proceed without you. Which do you prefer?" Jaden looked around, at his mother's strained face, at the bailiff standing patiently, at the judge who wasn't raising his voice or backing down. Then, slowly, he handed over the phone. Rodriguez powered it off and placed it on the clerk's table. Judge Caprio looked at Jaden, then at the courtroom, then back at Jaden again. 5 seconds passed, 7, 10, 12. That was how long it took for an 11-year-old to realize this was not his father's weekend. Judge Caprio folded his hands. "Jaden, sit in the gallery. Do not speak unless I ask you a question. Do you understand?" Jaden's voice was barely audible. "Yes, yes, Your Honor. Go." Jaden walked to the back row, sat down. Judge Caprio turned to Lisa Johnson. "Miss Johnson, I apologize," he said. "You came here to address citations, not to be humiliated by your child." Lisa wiped her eyes. "Your Honor, he's been like this since his father started." "I know," Judge Caprio said gently. "And we will address that. But first, let's talk about you." He opened the file, reviewing the dates, the amounts, the notes. "Officer Kelly is present," he said. "Officer, please step forward." A uniformed officer in his mid-40s approached the bench, posture calm and professional. "Officer Kelly," Judge Caprio said, "you issued all 3 citations to Miss Johnson's vehicle. Do you recall the circumstances?" "Yes, Your Honor," the officer replied. "The vehicle was parked legally each time. No hydrants, no crosswalks. The meters had expired. And the locations. The first 2 were downtown near the hospital. The third was on Hope Street near a pharmacy." The driver: "No, sir. Only the vehicle." "Did the vehicle appear abandoned or neglected?" "No, Your Honor. It was clean. Inspection sticker was current at the time. Nothing suggested neglect." Judge Caprio nodded slowly. "So this was a working mother parking near her job and forgetting to feed a meter." "It appears so," Officer Kelly confirmed. Judge Caprio leaned back slightly. "Yes," he said quietly. "That's exactly what it appears to be." "Thank you, officer," Judge Caprio said, nodding once. He turned back to Lisa Johnson, his expression softening in a way the courtroom immediately felt. "Miss Johnson, you came to court," he said. "You didn't ignore these tickets. You didn't hide. You didn't make excuses. You told the truth." Lisa swallowed hard. "Thank you, Your Honor. That matters," Judge Caprio continued. "It matters more than people realize." He glanced down at the file one last time. "Your total fines today come to $570, he said. "I am reducing that amount to $50. You will have 90 days to pay." Lisa's breath caught. Her voice broke as she spoke. "Your Honor, I will not punish a working mother for choosing rent over registration." Judge Caprio said firmly, "You keep people alive at that hospital. The least this city can do is give you room to breathe." Tears spilled freely now. "Thank you," Lisa whispered. "Thank you so much." But Judge Caprio raised one finger. "I am not finished," he said. "I still need to address your son." The air in the courtroom shifted. Judge Caprio looked toward the back row. "Jaden," he said, "stand up and come here." Jaden rose slowly and walked to the podium, his steps hesitant. He stopped beside his mother, suddenly much smaller than he had been earlier. Judge Caprio leaned forward. "Jaden, do you know why you're in this courtroom today?" "Because Mom got tickets," Jaden said quietly. "No," Judge Caprio replied. "You're here because your mother is trying to survive, and you made it harder?" Jaden's eyes dropped to the floor. "You are 11 years old when it's time to obey," the judge continued, "but 21 when it's time to insult." It can't be both. The silence was complete. Your father is 6 months behind on child support, Judge Caprio said. That's $4,800. Money your mother needs for food, rent, and the car that gets her to work. He paused. But instead of paying what he owes, your father buys you sneakers, phones, and game consoles. Do you know what that's called? Jaden shook his head. No, Your Honor. Judge Caprio said. Your father is performing. Your mother is working. And right now, you don't know the difference. Jaden's lower lip trembled. Your mother feeds you every day. The judge went on. She drives you to school. She works double shifts so you have a roof over your head. And today you told an entire courtroom she was broke, like it was her fault. Like she was failing you. I didn't mean? You did mean it? Judge Caprio said gently but firmly. Because someone taught you to think that way. And that stops today. He straightened. Courtrooms exist to repair what living rooms ignore. Judge Caprio reached for a form and filled it out slowly. Jaden Johnson, he said, you are hereby ordered to complete 30 hours of community service at the Providence Senior Day Center. Jaden's eyes widened. You will report every Saturday at 9 a.m. and work until noon, the judge continued. That's 10 weeks. You will sign in, sign out, and submit a completion log to this court. You can't do that, Jaden blurted. I have basketball? Then you will learn to respect the person who pays for your basketball, Judge Caprio replied. He paused. This is not punishment for poverty, Jaden. This is correction for disrespect. You treated your mother like she was worthless in front of strangers. Now you will spend 10 weeks serving people who cannot serve themselves. Maybe then you'll learn what sacrifice looks like. Lisa spoke softly. Your Honor, he's only 11. Judge Caprio turned to her. Miss Johnson, with respect, that is the problem. At 11, he has already learned to disrespect the woman who raised him. If we don't correct it now, at 21, he'll be exactly like his father. And I will not let that happen. He looked at Jaden again. Stand next to your mother. Look at her, Jaden turned. Lisa's eyes were red. Her hands shook. Tell her what you did, Judge Caprio said. Jaden's voice was barely audible. I said she was broke. Louder. I said she was broke. I said Dad was better. I answered the phone. I embarrassed her. No, tell her what's true. Jaden's voice cracked. She's the one paying, she's tired. I made it worse. Lisa broke down. Judge Caprio nodded toward her. You may hug her? Jaden wrapped his arms around his mother, and she held him tightly, right there, in the middle of the courtroom. And for the first time that afternoon, the lesson landed where it was meant to. The courtroom was silent, heavy with anticipation. Every eye was on Judge Caprio, and every heart seemed to understand that this was more than a case about parking tickets. It was a lesson in respect, responsibility, and the value of true parenting. If you believe children should learn respect early, not at 25, Judge Caprio said softly, subscribe to order in the court so more families can see this. He paused, letting the weight of the moment settle. Then, turning his attention back to the family before him, he spoke again. Miss Johnson, you may sit. Jaden, stay standing. Lisa lowered herself onto the bench, her shoulders finally relaxing. Jaden remained at the podium, alone now, a boy facing the full authority of the courtroom. Judge Caprio's eyes flicked to the file before him, and then toward the back of the courtroom, speaking as much to an absent observer as to the boy standing there. This next part, he said, is for the record. To the non-custodial parent listening to this case secondhand, you are 6 months behind on child support, yet you are present in shaping this child's attitude. You have taught him that money equals love, that gifts equal parenting, and that the woman who sacrifices daily is somehow lesser than the man who shows up twice a month with a shopping bag. He paused, letting each word sink in. Money without morals creates exactly what we saw today, a boy who believes disrespect is acceptable as long as someone buys him sneakers. That stops now. Influence is custody too. And your influence, he said, glancing toward the empty chair of the absent father, just cost your son 10 Saturdays of his life. A quiet murmur rippled through the gallery, as if the room collectively nodded in agreement. Judge Caprio turned back to Jaden. Jaden, he said, you will start this Saturday at 9 a.m. at the Providence Senior Day Center on Cranston Street. Your mother will drive you. You will help serve meals, assist residents, and clean up. The staff there will supervise you. If you miss a session without a valid excuse, you will return to this courtroom, and I will extend your hours.
Yes, Your Honor,
Jaden replied.
Do you have any questions?
The judge asked. No, Your Honor, he said. Then we are done. Judge Caprio said. He nodded to Officer Rodriguez. Return his phone. Rodriguez handed the device to Lisa Johnson, not Jaden. Judge Caprio looked at her. Miss Johnson, his phone is your property now. He earns it back when he earns your trust. Lisa tucked the phone into her purse and nodded, a quiet strength in her eyes. Judge Caprio lifted his gavel. This court is adjourned. Miss Johnson, see the clerk about your payment plan. Jaden, I will see you in 10 weeks. The gavel came down. 6 weeks later, the Providence Senior Day Center submitted attendance logs to the court. Week 1, Jaden arrived on time, helped set up breakfast, quiet but cooperative. Week 2, he assisted Mr. Leone with his walker and stayed 15 extra minutes to finish cleanup. Week 3, he asked if he could come during school break to make up extra hours. Week 4, Miss Rivera taught him chess, and he began helping other kids in the after-school program. Week 5, he asked about summer volunteer shifts, saying he enjoyed helping. Week 6, compliance was consistent, attitude transformed. Miss Bell entered a note in the court file, community service proceeding as ordered, positive reports from the site supervisor. Judge Caprio read the note, smiled, and made a note to check in at the 10-week mark. 10 weeks later, Lisa and Jaden returned to Providence Municipal Court. Miss Bell called the case follow-up review, PK 1184, Johnson matter. Jaden approached the podium with his mother, no phone, no interruptions, just patient respect. Jaden, Judge Caprio began. You completed your hours.
Yes, Your Honor,
Jaden replied. What did you learn? He took a deep breath. I learned that Mom's not the broke one. She's the one paying. Dad's gifts don't pay fines. They don't pay rent. They don't pay for anything real. And, the judge prompted. I learned that the people at the senior center, Jaden said, they don't care what kind of shoes you wear. They care if you show up, if you help, if you're kind. And Mom, she's been showing up my whole life, and I treated her like she wasn't enough. But she is more than enough. She's everything. Judge Caprio nodded. Miss Johnson, has his behavior improved at home? Lisa smiled, relief and pride mingling. Yes, Your Honor, he's been different. He helps with his little sister. He does his homework without being asked. He doesn't talk about his father's gifts anymore. Judge Caprio turned to Jaden. What happens the next time your father buys you something and speaks poorly of your mother? I'll thank him for the gift, Jaden said. Then tell him she's the one who makes sure I have what I need, not just what I want. Judge Caprio leaned back, a small smile crossing his face. Good answer. He stamped the file. The courtroom held its breath for a moment longer, then slowly, a sense of completion settled over everyone present. A lesson had been learned and respect finally had been restored. Community service obligation fulfilled. Judge Caprio announced, his voice calm but resolute. Jaden Johnson, you are released from court supervision. Your mother has my permission to return your phone if she believes you've earned it. Thank you, Your Honor, Lisa said softly, relief flooding her voice. One more thing, Jaden, the judge added. Yes, sir. The senior center called me. They asked if you'd be interested in volunteering this summer, a paid position, 15 hours a week. Are you interested? Jaden glanced at his mother. She nodded. Yes, Your Honor, I'd like that. Then it's yours, Miss Johnson, Judge Caprio said. The center will contact you with details.
Thank you, Your Honor,
Lisa said. Judge Caprio looked at them both, his gaze steady. You came in here broken. You're leaving whole. That is what this courtroom is for. The gavel came down. That afternoon, Judge Caprio sat at his desk and wrote in his journal. An 11-year-old insulted his mother in open court. I gave him 10 Saturdays to learn what she's worth. He came back a different child. Beneath it, he added, respect isn't age restricted. Neither is accountability. A knock at the door. Your Honor, the mother left you something, Miss Bell said, handing him an envelope. Inside was a handwritten note. Your Honor, thank you for seeing what I couldn't. Jaden is a different kid. I'm a different mom. We're learning together. Attached was a photo of Jaden and Lisa at the senior center, both smiling, both wearing volunteer badges. Judge Caprio pinned it to his bulletin board, next to pictures of other families he had helped rebuild. Courtrooms, he reminded himself, weren't just for punishment, they were for reconstruction. Jaden had entered the system bigger than his mother in attitude. He left smaller than her sacrifices. Respect costs nothing, yet it pays every bill a parent cannot. 2 months later, Jaden walked into the senior center on a quiet Tuesday afternoon. This time he wasn't there for service. Just a Leone saw him and waved. Jaden, you here to try and beat me at chess again? Maybe, if you're ready to lose. Jaden replied, a small smile tugging at his lips. They set up the board. Halfway through the game, Mr. Leon asked casually. You still got that fancy phone your dad bought you? Yeah, Jaden said, but I only use it when my mom says I can. Smart kid? Not really, Jaden admitted. I had to learn the hard way. Mr. Leon moved his knight. That's the only way most of us learn. Jaden studied the board and moved his bishop. Then, hesitantly, he asked, Mr. Leon, when you were a kid, did you ever disrespect your mom? The older man smiled faintly. Once. My father heard me and made me apologize in front of the whole neighborhood. I was so embarrassed I cried. Did you ever do it again? Never. Because I learned that respect isn't optional. It's required, especially for the people who love you most. Jaden nodded, absorbing every word. He moved his rook. Checkmate, Mr. Leon said. Jaden laughed. How do you always win? I've been losing longer than you've been alive, Leon said. You learn more from losses than wins, kid. Yeah, Jaden admitted. I'm starting to figure that out. At 4 o'clock, Lisa arrived to pick him up. Jaden climbed into the car without complaints, without attitude. How was your visit? She asked. Good, he said. Mr. Leon beat me again. Maybe next time, she replied. They drove in silence for a minute before Jaden spoke again. Mom, I'm sorry for what I said in court, for how I acted. You already apologized. Honey, Lisa said softly.
I know, Jaden said, but I don't think I said it enough.
Lisa pulled over and turned to him. Jaden, you didn't just apologize, you changed. That's bigger than words. Really? He asked. I know so, she said. They hugged, the kind of hug that carries forgiveness, understanding, and hope all at once. Then Lisa handed him his phone. You earned it back. Jaden looked at it, then at her. Can I keep it in my backpack? I don't really need it right now. She smiled. You sure? Yeah, I'm good. As they drove home in Judge Frank Caprio's office, the photo of Jaden and Lisa stayed pinned to the board, a reminder that respect isn't taught in a single hearing. It's rebuilt one Saturday at a time. Because courtrooms, when used well, do more than punish. They repair, they teach, they guide children to see the value in the sacrifices made for them. And Jaden Johnson, once brash, entitled, and disrespectful, was proof that transformation is possible when accountability meets compassion.